Master.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. I'm your host Ramon Azab, aka Remon with the Alliance, and today I'm bringing you a top 5 farming guide for territory battles. It's going to be the first in a series of videos for territory battles, next being an actual guide to the different phases of territory battles. Now, the important thing to note about these teams is they're all actually required, or the characters are required for territory battles, but they have other benefits as well. Now let's go into number 5 here, which is going to be the Phoenix Squad. Phoenix Squad has lots of benefits to it, on top of the fact that they're required, I believe, in Phase 5 of the territory battles, but you're going to be able to use them in other areas as well. Now, obviously, you need them to get Grand Admiral Thrawn to 7 stars, but they have a lot of synergy with each other. They also regenerate protection, and honestly, I think these are the best 5 right here that we're looking at on the screen right now, and that's Ezra, Hera, Sabine, Chopper, and Zeb Orrelios. They actually have a 6th, which is Kanan, but Kanan, unfortunately, besides his unique, really doesn't do a ton of damage, so I find him to be the weakest link in the group, and if there was one person that I'd say is omittable, I'd say he'd probably be the one. I was able to get through the challenge this first time with this team here, and I did a great job. Now, the thing about this team is that, you know, obviously they're not going to be the greatest arena team out there, but they do have tons of value in other options, like in other areas like raids, galactic war. But the thing is, with territory battles, you're going to want to be able to make sure they survive, and in certain phases, especially when you get to the last 2 phases, phase 5 and 6, you're talking about the difficulty level getting extremely harder than it is in the first 4 phases. So you're going to need to be able to survive through the battle, and the fact that Zeb is able to give protection back, Hera gives protection, and actually can revive a character with her lock. They're just a great team to have. Now, number 4 is the Rogue One team. Okay, and this is also another team that's just fantastic in every area of territory battles because of their protection. They can regenerate protection. If you Zeta K2SO, he has protection regeneration. You know, they also start off with additional buffs because of Cassian's Zeta as well, and obviously having Baze and Chirrut be able to heal, dispel buffs, taunt. It's just a great team to have all the way around. And also, Jyn can revive an ally with her all-out attacks, or her area of effect attacks. So that's definitely a great team to have all around, not just for the fact that the Rogue One squad is necessary in one part of the territory battles, but also because just in all their phases, using a Rogue One squad can help you get through some of those battles. Now, I fortunately happen to have multiple different squads, so I do have a Rogue One squad, I do have a Phoenix squad, and that helps me, you know, be able to platoon characters and then also be able to use these characters for the combat missions. But unfortunately, if you're not sitting there with, let's say, 3 or 4 different squads that you can use for combat missions, you're going to have to be very careful about which characters you platoon. You're not going to want to platoon your Baze if that's the only team that you have to run for the combat missions, especially, you know, when you're talking about days like where the Rogue One squad is necessary. But great team all around because of the regeneration and protection, because of the health manipulation, or sorry, the added healing from Chirrut, also the call-in attack from both Cassian and Chirrut and Baze. It's just a great synergy, but also on top of that, the survivability is the most important thing, because you don't want to lose any of these combat missions because it'll cost your team points, and we saw that happening in spades in the last couple of days, or the last 2 phases of the territory battles. Even though we were able to ultimately accomplish 43 stars, it was very difficult in the last couple, or especially the last phase, because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make it or not. It became very close, and we had to make sure that we allocated or dropped the characters in the right territories, and that became, you know, a matter of just coordination and speaking with you know, our guildmates. Now, number 3 is the Resistance Squad. The team is just great all around. You can use this team in Arena, and it does well also. I personally if I were to try to run this team in Arena, would use R2-D2 instead of this particular combination. Resistance Pilot to me is probably the most expendable one, even though he does also add an Expose. He definitely, I think, is the weakest link out of all these, the most unnecessary out of all of them. But also, just having him maxed out can add, an extra Expose, which obviously reduces their cooldowns, and then the team just gets to use their specials pretty much for the entire encounter. But you're again, this team is going to help you get through some of these combat missions, because they're just going to constantly be able to use their special attacks and just do a ton of damage. And obviously, if you have a Ray whacking people out there, that's always a good thing. Captain Han Solo is number 2. Captain Han Solo is required to get Rebel Leia Organa shards, Rebel Officer Leia Organa shards, and later, once you get a 7-star Rebel Leia Organa, they're going to be required to get that additional 30 territory battles or fleets, guild challenge currency, or guild. I forget what it's called, but to get the extra currency that you get the Hermit Yoda shards with, you're going to need both 7 stars. So he's obviously a requirement. You're going to need to have him to get all your guild mates those Rolo shards. But also on top of that, he does add some value in other areas. He has a great ability to revive somebody. He he can do some damage with his attack. I'm not a huge fan of his kit, to be honest with you, in comparison to the other Hans. I think he's probably the worst Han out of all the Hans so far, especially since the release of Smuggler Han. I think Smuggler Han might actually be the best Han, but his basic attack just doesn't do a ton of damage, but it can stick daze on targets, and when you're talking about these ads, or when you're facing all these different opponents in the combat missions that can counterattack when you're attacking the characters with the locks on their heads, or the characters with the buffs on their heads, he's able to daze them, which prevents them from being able to counterattack or be called in for an assist. So that's definitely a great asset to have in certain areas of the territory battles. Once I get him up a little bit further, I have him at 6 stars right now. Once I have him at 7, I'll probably get him to gear 10, gear 11, and use him more in the combat missions. But at first glance, I'm not super thrilled about the other abilities that he has. Again, he does give the ability to dispel. He does give the ability to revive a hero or an ally, but again, his damage just isn't there. But obviously he's required to get Rolo, and he's required to get that 30 currency, so you need it. And of course, number 1 is the Hoth Brothers themselves. The Hoth Brothers, listen, let's be real. They're not the most fantastic team. Although I'll tell you, Hoth Rebel Scout, early on in the game, was one of the characters that I sought after, because I really wanted to have a full Rebel team. This is back when I was running an Akbar lead, and I had Princess Leia from Chromium packs. So I did want to get Hoth Rebel Scout, because he is able to get 100% turn meter if he crits on his special, and he has added synergies against Empire. So he also gives turn meter to the entire team with a basic attack. As you can see here, he does get to go a ton, so that's a huge benefit. But they are required in many battles of territory battles, so you're going to need to farm these guys regardless. And if you're able to get them to gear 10, gear 11, they can add a level of damage and protection for your team, because Hoth Rebel Soldier taunts, counterattacks, and his basic doesn't do a ton of damage, but he does protect your team. Also, on top of that, Hoth Rebel Scout, like I said, can do a decent amount of damage. He can stun a target. He does give turn meter to the entire team with his basic attack, and that can really be helpful, especially if you get counterattack on him or retribution. Then every time he counterattacks, he's also going to be giving the entire team turn meter. Now, obviously, Hoth Rebel Soldier is one of the hardest characters to attain altogether. He's only available in 1 hard node. Now, you can also get him out of, he's very frequently dropped in the Bronzium packs. So if you have a ton of Bronzium credits left from the tournaments and you haven't used them, that might be a quick way to get these characters up, or to get Hoth Rebel Soldier up a little bit faster than just farming that that couple of shards every day from the hard node. So although they did increase the amount of shards we can get every day by giving us 5 battles per day for the hard nodes instead of 3, it's still going to be a long grind if you want to get them to 7 stars, and that is a requirement at one part of the game. So I mean, you're going to want him to be there, you're going to need him. So these are characters that are just a necessity, and you're going to have to go for them. Now, some honorable mentions for you: Wedge and Biggs. Obviously Wedge with that added offense with his leader is a great asset to have during the combat missions. Biggs, obviously having the synergy with Wedge, is somebody you're going to want to have there. They're also very easily attainable. Wedge is available in the Cantina nodes, and Biggs is available in the Galactic War Store. Lando, because of his area of effect attack, and also Anakin, because of his area of effect attack, can be really great against these combat missions, because you have waves and waves of opponents, and they're able to clear the board in some cases and do some splash damage that can wipe out a whole squad, so you don't have to waste your special attacks on that node. That's the name of the game, is saving your special attacks for the last wave. So if you want to have all your special attacks left for wave 6, having an AoE attack like Lando's or Anakin's can help you get there. Also, Scareful Pathfinder revives if he has a buff when he's defeated, so he's a great person to have, because he can also stay alive and give you an extra ally and a taunter that gives the opponent's offense down during those combat missions. So he's a great another Rogue One option to have as well. So if you want to have an extra Rogue One option, he's an easy farm out of the Cantina nodes as well. So he's definitely somebody you want to get. But overall, definitely appreciate you guys checking out the video. Definitely go to the AlliΔnceGaming.com to check out more of our content. I'll be having a live show coming out again this Friday night at Saturday at 8:30, 9 o'clock Eastern time. And I appreciate all you guys checking out my content, and definitely look forward to dropping some more videos here soon. I'll definitely have that territory battles guide for you for the phases up soon. But as always, thanks, and may the Force be with you guys.
Yes, Master.